What's up, party people? It's KeysDAN with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you could have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Let me entertain you. Speaking of entertainment, today on the program, I have Greg WIGZ. She loves to shop. She loves to shop.com. She loves the number 2, shop.com. Oh, so excited to catch up with him. I know you know who he is. You've heard him on the podcast before, but we're going to catch up and find out what's going on. What's new with Greg WIGZ. All right. Also, this week's shows, I have one public show for you, the RAB in Conway, Arkansas, my usual Friday night gig, the video dance party karaoke jam. Yes, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. It's a little concert starring each and every one of you. So excited. They got a full bar. The kitchen's open, pool tables. They got a pool tournament on Friday nights. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool and possibly make some money while you're doing it, you get out to the RAB in Conway, Arkansas. And they got good food and they got good drinks. And the people are so nice. Always a good time at the RAB. That's on Friday nights. Yeah, the RAB in Conway, Arkansas from 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the a.m. It's karaoke time. Come on out and play. All right, that's enough intro. Let's get into it with Greg WIGZ. That's WIGZ. She loves to shop with the number 2. I got him on Skype. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, I encourage you to check out the video version on my YouTube page, youtube.com/user/KeysDAN. Skyping Greg WIGZ now. There he is. It takes a village. You're smarter than the machine. Yeah. You did it. You did it. You get by with a little help from your friends. All right. The song that's been stuck in my head is Criss Cross's Jump. Jump. The Daddy Mac will make you jump. Jump. Why? Because I learned a long time ago with Criss Cross that wiggity whack means bad. And miggity mac means good. But you are WIGZ. You are wiggity good. I think you're the exception to the rule, man. You're the man. Dude, if people go and listen to your music, and I encourage them right off the bat to head over to shelovetoshop.com with a number 2. She loves number 2, shop.com. That's the first place that you need to go to find out. You know, it's not for the faint of heart. Greg, Rolo, WIGZ, what are we calling you today?
Anything but late for supper.
You better believe it. All right. I'm gonna say Rolo. I guess this time will be Rolo. How about that?
I don't use Rolo no more.
Okay. So we go with WIGZ?
Yeah, well, that works.
Oh, Greg. Just plain Greg.
I used Rolo when I first started.
Okay.
Because I was too insecure to go out there and bear it all, you know. So I had to hide behind a pseudonym.
Well, I am taking that right. I'm taking that right off of your little thing on the bottom there. Now it says Greg WIGZ. She loves to shop. All right. For people that don't know, for people that didn't listen to the first podcast and didn't get into straight away to the She Loves to Shop music, you're a man. All right. There's pundits. There's people that go on CNN. They go on Fox. They go on Newsmax. They go on whatever channel and they speak their mind. And you could be a pundit. But no, Greg WIGZ, you take what's on your mind and put it into music form. Put it out there, whether it's political, whether it's something you're just thinking about. And usually, from what you said last time, in one take. You don't practice. You take it in one take, put it out there, and let it fly. Is that still the process?
Well, to all the producers and home engineers and people that do this stuff, you throw it all up on the computer, you put it up there, and then you massage it. And so it is true. The things that I record are usually one take. Sometimes they're not, but most of the time they're pretty much as fresh as they get. I mean, as far as practice goes, my practices for instruments, my guitar practices, they're pretty mundane. All I basically do is move my fingers and keep doing what I've done for the past 50 years. And yeah, I know. I
Okay.
started playing the guitar in 1974.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one thing that I've learned from talking to the older folks, the people like you and me who are getting up there, the older you get, the less you give a care about. I think the kids call it less F's to give. But I want to let people know when they go to your site, it's not for the faint of heart. It's not safe for work. It's not, that's quote unquote, not safe for work. But I want them to listen to some of the songs because you named them. Even the latest offering is probably the most truthfully named, off the cuff. This is stuff that's on the dome and that's coming out of your mouth and getting put to music. And it's stuff that you're thinking about right now. You have a song called Let's Go Brandon. You got Holy S. I'm going to say it like that because I don't curse, but you can. Because that's the way it is. I hold myself to that. But you even have a vinyl version of that song, of that record. And it's right there if you're watching the video version. If you're listening to the audio version, I encourage you to check out the video version on the YouTube page so you could find out, you could see what Greg WIGZ was showing to me. His album.
I said our internet connection's not so good.
It's okay.
I'm near Fort Wayne, but I'm also outside of Fort Wayne a little bit, out in the cornfield. And so, the internet availability out here there isn't any. It's cell phone hotspot stuff we have to have. Yeah, let's think. What you just was saying there that, well, you taught me a word that I had to look up the definition of last time we talked, and that was muse. You talked about, how my muses do this or do that. And I really have never used that was a new word to me. I've heard the word around. I mean, I've seen the word and I know there's a band called Muse and whatever, but I really never had it in my vocabulary. So after our conversation, I looked it up and I said, okay, I got it. And, we touched on a little bit about the inspiration or how the muses communicate or whatever you call the muse might be. And I don't really feel so much like a conduit because I really believe in my muses. And I think when people say they're the conduit, that they separate themselves from the muse, where they're just like, hey, I'm just a piece of pipe, But I look at it, I feel more different. I feel like I believe in my muses. I mean, I trust them. I've had to learn to trust them. And anyway, that's that conversation. We can go somewhere else later with that.
I mean, Greg, some people call it being possessed. When they write their music, when they write their stories, when they write their poetry, when they write their lyrics, it's like they're being possessed. Muse is just what the Greeks called it. Not a lot of stuff that we do right now in the Western world comes from the Greeks. The muses were who inspired people to do certain things. Where do they grow crops? You're out there in the cornfields.
Yeah, in a different alternative dimension, or that are in a different, they're not in our plane of known, 3D existence. So they communicate with us through the levels, frequency, however you want to learn about it and cope with it. So, but anyway, that's just, that's something that, I don't think we need to talk about that anymore. It just happens. I just do what I do and I'm thankful for it.
Yeah.
And we talked about being aware of, and I don't even like the political arena anymore because it's just too profane. It is too obscenely disgusting. Yes, I did do the song called Let's Go Brandon. And if you'd listened to it, which I think you may have, basically the song is about free speech. I'm not trying to get involved either way in one party or the other. I don't mention any parties. I don't mention any way to live for anybody. I'm not telling anybody anything other than expressing myself as far as, hey, I'll say what I want to say. Yeah, because I have that confidence. I say I'm a big rock star. I'll say what I want. And then I go on to say, and so are you. You are too. We all are. We all should be able to feel free. And when people have a choice, that makes you free. So if you listen to my music, you don't listen to it, be free. You're free not to listen to it. You're free to listen to it. I don't care.
Well, just the fact that you named it Let's Go Brandon is going to attract a certain kind of person, whether it's a person who believes that that instance or just somebody curious who wants to know what it's all about. Well, I mean, you want to be you want to be somebody who's compelling to write things that that make people think, that make people, oh, well, this is an interesting book by its cover title.
Here's a little nugget of wisdom or whatever. When you write music and there's already been everything under the sun done, and so musically it's really difficult to be original. But when it comes to the lyrics, see, that's where I think that's your chance. That's your opportunity to say something profound. That's your opportunity to do it, to do the, make it weird or whatever, because we talked about this before too. Let the music be. What did you tell me before? Objectivity. Everybody can interpret it their own way.
Sure. It belongs to them. Once you put it out into the world, that's what happened to Star Wars and and Star Trek. And once they put it out into the world, then the fans, it belongs to the fans. It belongs to their interpretation. Maybe they want to do a little fan fiction. Maybe they'll see that. Well, what you did was you took a phrase that's out there in the zeitgeist, that's out there in the ether, that people are talking about. And it gave you an idea, sometimes you write the song and then you name it later. You don't know what the name is, or maybe you'll start with the name. I think, I had a conversation with a coworker of mine yesterday talking about phrases that people have tried to copyright over the years. And the one that I came up with is Paris Hilton tried to copyright "That's Hot" because in her show she would say, "Oh, that's hot." Well, she tried to copyright "That's Hot," and the judge said, "Nay, you cannot copyright that. That does not belong to you. That belongs to the world. You can copyright hundreds of words in a book or hundreds of words in a song, but you cannot copyright "That's hot."
So you're right. Yeah, the phrase "Let's go, Brandon." That's the clickbait. That's the hook. That's what piques the curiosity. If I wanted to, I could have said "F you, Brandon," or "F Joe Biden," or anything other than that. But that's not the point. The point isn't. I'm not trying to make an attack on the individual or the ideology in particular either. But it's a play on the word to say, wait a minute, think about it though. Regardless of whatever the underlying conversation is associated with that phrase, what I'm trying to do is say, but let's shine a light on the idea that all things aside, if there is an issue threatening free speech, which we can go all day and a day and a half on that one.
There absolutely is.
Yes, and so turn that into my catchphrase that you may have seen every once in a while on Twitter, where free speech equals free music. And that's how it works. I definitely am not a believer in censorship in any way, shape, or form. And so that's a very touchy issue to me as a freedom-loving person. And we could move on into the other direction for the other week and a half about the consequences of what all this means and what's appropriately, in the near future. But, I don't know. I don't think that's why we're here today.
Well, okay, I'll tell you where I'm at. I don't believe in Democrats. I don't believe in Republicans. I believe in me, the United States of KeysDAN. Okay. I try to take care of myself. If everybody swept their own front door, the whole world would be clean. I fully believe that. You got to take care of you.
You got to build the community.
Yeah, you take care of you. You take care of your family. You take care of the community, and you make circles out as your resources allow.
Exactly.
You know, and it's better to
preach it, bro.
I know we're in an election year. I don't like to timestamp these things too much. But in an election year, people are thinking about voting for president. That's all they're thinking about. But you got to think about the local stuff that's going on. You know, what about the school board? What about the sheriff? What about, the people in your town? I worry about the newspapers.
I wish we had more time because
we got plenty.
It's really just scary, sad, makes me mad. The propaganda and the raining down of deception and misinformation. And I mean, it's just so incredibly abundant that, it's just the conspiracy truth, the conspiracy lies, the whole on and on, if you get into it and you follow it and you try to understand it, usually scaring yourself to death is what ends up happening. Because then when you do actually become woke to the reality of the fragility of our society and the economy, then you realize that we're just dangling on a string for what's potentially going to happen. And we know that's not if, that's when. Mm-hmm. Where that string's cut and all hell breaks loose and the chaos on earth and what can happen within a short period of time. We don't even want to fathom that because it almost can just put you into a state of permanent depression, paralyze the shit out of you.
I listen to true crime podcasts and it warps my fragile little mind. And I'm realizing more and more that the government doesn't care about anything except for if you mess with their mony. Murderers will go free. Rapists will go free. But a tax evasion.
The people aren't going to put up with it either. Yeah. They do what they're going to do. And that's what they want too. They want the lid to blow off. They want all the infighting. And they want the marauders, and they want the gangs, and the exodus out of these cities. It's going to. I don't even like think about it, but aftermath. The aftermath is what we got to think about, and the aftermath is to survive, take care of your family, and see if you can make it through this with your humanity. Yeah. That's the big question, because desperate people do desperate things. And when you're talking starvation and mass, people dying because of the rampant lack of medicine and the whole smear, it's going to be a real challenge to the most righteous when we can watch the loved ones and the people and everything just, turning on each other. And it's got, I'm telling you what, I don't even think about it. I don't even know why you brought it up, man.
Well, we started with the Greeks, with the Muse and where that came from. And the Greeks had an idea of democracy. Until then, it was monarchies. It was people. It was one man that ruled everything.
Again, we got to take that word democracy and quit using it.
That's right.
That's not even the right word.
We're not even in a democracy. It's a republic.
Yeah, I just studied up on the thing a little while ago. 51% the majority in a democracy. That's to hell with the minority. The majority rules, so you guys don't have a voice anymore. That's wrong. That's not what it's meant to be. That's not what the founding fathers built and set up and constructed. They constructed, as you know, the constitutional republic, where the little guy who's in the minority still has rights, still has a voice, and it's not going to be bulldozed over and shamed off the edge of the planet. Because I don't believe it's really round.
That's the guy. That's who I'm talking to. I love it. I want to hear more of what you think, man. Greg, if anybody wants to know where you're from, where you're at, how you made your music, they can go listen to the first podcast. You have a new record out. It's called Holy SHIT. There, I spelt it out.
You want me to hold the album up again?
No, man.
For those who can't read your lips.
No, but you got it. You got it up there. And okay. The other thing I want to talk about is me being a child of the MTV era, a person who grew up, who came into being. I was in high school, middle school, and high school when MTV first came out. The visual. One thing you said. All right. I'm going to harp on this. Let's Go, Brandon, because I love it, man. You got visuals on there.
It's a cool song. It really is.
Whether you wanted to say it or not, the visual is there. Exactly what you meant in the back of your head and in the front of your head, and what came out your mouth and what's going in their ears.
You're making it too complicated, Dan.
Oh man,
I just like that.
I'm the consumer.
I like songs. I like sing-alongs.
Yeah.
I like nursery rhymes. The simpler, the better.
Yeah.
I like them simple, right? So when "Let's Go Brent," when that that chant comes along,
yes.
I mean, I love it. When I first heard that, I'm like, yeah, man. It's just like, okay, we were at the basketball game and somebody fouled, and the other team, their student section, started shouting, "You can't do that! You can't do that!" And you know what?
It's the same chant,
in my head, just like a top 40 song would. Mm-hmm. And I started shouting it. My wife looking at me like, "Would you stop it? Knock it off?" Because every time somebody would do something, I'd be like, she says, "Would you stop acting like a 15-year-old?"
It's the same chant we've been doing since we were in grade school. Yeah, na 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 na. It's the same tune. Na 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 na.
But who made a kick-ass rock and roll song out of it?
You got that right. The Eagles did na 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 na. Right? No, that's Journey. Sorry. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Oh yeah, but okay, you do like phrases. I mean, there's Wackadoodle, there's Save the Whales, there's I've Lost, I've Found, and I Matter, Dark Side, Monkeys in the Rocket. I love all the titles. They're catchy. Those are the hooks. Those are the clickbait. If people go and go, man, what is? I'm an alien. Oh, I got to know what this is about. And the visuals. Once again, you take the time to find B-roll, to make your own visuals. I don't know if we talked about this. Do you make your own videos? Is everything all in that studio that's sitting right behind you? I'm looking at a microphone. I'm looking at a lamp. I'm looking at a computer. I'm looking at all this equipment right behind you. Is that where the magic happens? Everything.
Yeah, this is the humble studio. I mean, it's basic, nothing much to it. The history on the whole thing pretty much is I'm a very resourceful person. One of my talents is to make the most out of what I have. And so as I learned to record digitally, I got equipment that was available. I used what I could. I learned from what I had. Some stuff I upgraded, some stuff I've had for a while. And I learned to make the most out of what I had. So if I had cheap stuff, I learned how to try to make it sound better. Make cheap stuff sound good. I resourced online all this free videos and pictures, royalty-free stuff. I got an idea for a song, for a video for a tune, and I thought, maybe this song needs clowns, or maybe this song needs a desert, or this song needs somebody. Well, you watch my video for the song called Impala Road. That one came out, I think, really good.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, Impala Road had some nice clips that worked in real good. And then it's just a matter of learning how to edit and what you can do, like with the music in the DAW. You learn what tools are available and spend a lot of time, like we talked about being in his chair last time. You spend a lot of time in the chair, a lot of time looking at that screen. And I liken it to a kid that plays video games all the time. To me, working on the DAW, making music, doing the same thing as a video game. That's how I look at it, and I like doing it too. It's a lot of fun. It has its ups and downs. So I get so burnt out on a song. Sure, sometimes I can put down a song and get all the parts and put pretty much the mix there in 3 days, and everything's pretty much there. Then other times, here recently, I've been trying to slow down a little bit and polish and make things a little better. It takes a little bit longer. Maybe the songs have been harder to figure out because I don't ever start a song really knowing what the song is going to really do. I might have a riff or part of an idea that I'll play on the guitar, and I'll think, okay, let's go in here and sit down and turn everything on, start to record this basic idea riff I got. And usually it morphs into something different. It's never really like I started out with completely. And then bit by bit, I start editing where I'm copying and pasting and cutting out stuff, and it just keeps chipping away at it, basically. Add stuff, take away, add stuff, take away. Massage, that's the best way. If I had a ball of clay, that's how this thing starts, just a block of clay. And then it's like, you start. So finally, when it's all done, it's like, now that's what I like. That's nice. So when I do songs, I end up with songs that I want to hear. I record it and finish it where if I was back in the heyday of rock and roll in the 70s and the 80s, and my stuff come up, I'd be like, yeah, that's what I would want to hear back when I was, when I was doing rock. Well, I still am, but that's what I'm aiming for.
Well, that's an unusual way to do it, Greg, coming in half cocked, coming in with an idea. Is anybody in a band, if the singer songwriter would come to his or her bandmates with a partially finished song, they would have bandmates that would help them flesh out the song. But if you're doing it all by yourself, going in, not knowing exactly where you want.
Complex thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this earlier about sometimes I think my ego is just so big. It's like, I think, gosh, I always try to tone it down where I'm like, I want to help other people and I always want to listen, but I can't listen to everybody that's out there. I just like intentionally, I don't want to listen to it because I'm just kind of like that ego thing or something where I'm just stuck with I got my own thing. And there's some artists that I will go out of my way. If anybody would ever ask, listen to my stuff, I will. But there's so much out there. It's like, I'm just full, man. It's like going into a restaurant, a buffet, and there's this artist, that artist, there's this music, there's that, and it's like you go in and it's like data overload. It's like, I can't try all of it. I just, and if I find a couple here and there that they do something, get my attention, I'm thinking, all right. And then I become friends with them. I'll let them know if I like it. I let them know. And so anyway, so I think sometimes though, because I have to wear all the hats, and as we go through the process, I don't even know what the artist is, the performer, the guy that plays that music. I'm that person, but it's really, it's not like you're out there hot dogging it on the stage, It's just like you're sitting here and you just play your part, and you think you got it right. Okay, if you don't, do it some more, But so you got that thing going on, and then you got the mix engineer, the recording aspect of it. You got that hat, and then you go through the production part of it where you're making all these decisions, right? That's what we talked about before. As a producer, you make all these decisions. Do I want a key change? Do I want a tempo change? Do I would we put a break here? Do we put a fade out? What are we doing? That's all part of being a producer. And the way I approach that is I just listen to the song as it's going. And I'm thinking, okay, if I was not me song and I thought it was a groovy song, what would I want it to do right now? And I'd be like, well, I'd want the guitar to come in right there real loud, or I'd want to stop and I'd want a drum solo, or, I just, whatever I feel that it needs, I try to figure out how to get something there that fits the bill. So then hopefully after 3 or 4 minutes of the whole tune being rolled out, it's full of those decisions that made it groovy, made it cool.
Yeah, it's hard to do things all by yourself, Greg. But if you have that ability to sing, songwrite, and play all the instruments, and mix, master it down, and post it up on various social medias and places where people can put their ears on them, there's so much. And do you lay this out on a daily basis? Do you have a schedule? You said you sit in that chair. I was just watching a YouTuber, a gamer that spends, he said, man, when I first started, I was sitting in this chair 12, 16 hours a day. Now he makes sure that he gets up in the morning, goes out, exercises, goes walks up a mile, has his breakfast.
Coffee pot.
Have some breakfast.
Coffee cup, lots of curls with the coffee cup.
Well, I've made it a point. I have my weights right there, next to me, and I'll get up out of this chair and stretch. Yeah,
you can really get sedimentary at this kind of thing, but my body tells me when it's time to get out of the chair, And sometimes I surprise myself, and I'll be, holy crap, I've been in this chair for 3 damn hours. Whoa, I can't believe it.
You got to get up and stretch.
But no, I've got things are really just the more you practice. I mean, sheesh, um, working on the DAW and what you're hearing. That's the thing. You know, we talked about critical listening and learning how to listen and take yourself right into the middle of everything and immerse yourself in that sound. That's the zone. You know, when you can get to the zone fairly quick. I mean, not every time I sit in the chair, I get right in the zone. Sometimes it doesn't want to, I can't really find it. But most of the time, but when you get to that point where you've learned how to do that, and I'm talking about that critical listening zone, and especially when you shift your focuses, like sometimes I'm working at mid-range and guitars, and then it's like, oh no, now we got to work on or the lows, and you know, get the kick and the bass working together, and so it takes a conscious focus, but at the same time, I found that the more I do it, the more natural and easier it gets. I automatically know what frequencies I'm hearing that I like, or something's too not what I like. And when my low end's not working, you know, sometimes I still get fooled and I forget. I can't figure out what's going on right away.
Well, I mean,
like
yeah, go ahead.
Well, today I went to work on a song, and I brought up a preset for a mastering template that I liked for my type material, and one of the plugins, we know what those are. So one of the plugins had an image widener on it, so it had the image widened, and I preset this from last time I used it, and so I started out working on this, and something just wasn't sitting with me right. You know, I was just like, gosh, I don't know what am I hearing here, and I'm trying this, trying that. Then I get all the way to that plugin finally, and I look, and I said, well, there's the answer right there. The doggone imager was on, had the stereo field widened out. And so here I was fighting this wide stereo field, trying to wonder why things were sounding not like I thought they were before. So then, you know, once I shut that off and brought everything back to where it was supposed to be without the widening, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, well, I'm a dumbass.
Well, was it sounding like the Who in quadrophenia? Was it really that wide to where if people were listening in their headphones, they would be psychedelic?
Yeah. Well, you know what's really funny too is that that thing about suggestion, how the mind can be fooled. Mm-hmm. You take a word. I saw this on Instagram, a short or something, and I've done this in the studio with the music thing, where you say one word, but if you print something underneath it, it'll sound like it's saying that word, what's printed. And if you put a different printed word underneath it, it'll say it. So on my videos on YouTube, I'll start out with a little introduction, the little spiel. She loves to shop, and then it will say the name of the video. And the background, that's part of the background music as a sound effect. And every time, practically 9 times out of 10, that voice just says whatever it says. It sounds like it's saying the name of that song because that's what's printed right there.
I got you. And well, I mean, there's
a phenomenon that blew my mind at first. I was like, how in the heck is this doing it? Because I'm hearing it saying, and I know it's not saying this, but it sounds like it is.
Well, it sounds like the test that scientists used to do with glass, where they would try. Well, when they were originally trying to invent the phonograph and trying to invent things that would reproduce sound, and they were using glass, and you couldn't really understand what the word said. It would go, yeah. But then if somebody said, she loves to shop, it would go, shop. Oh, okay. That's what it says. It says she loves to shop. But you wouldn't know that without that context. And it's the same with, I've seen the experiments where they have a color green, but then they'll write red underneath it, and color blue, and they'll put yellow underneath it. And you're like, say the color of the block 12 times. Yeah. And it's an amazing, your mind. Amazing, and this is something that you're doing with your music.
Well, that's what propaganda does, I guess, in so many ways, in commercials and TV and all the music too. You know, I mean, I admit it. I'm trying to change people's minds. I got a song called "Change the World," right? Remember that?
It's what the CIA has been doing since the 50s with LSD, man.
Well, yeah. So if I'm selling anything, I'm selling like love. Let's start loving each other. Let's start loving our Creator. Let's start loving Jesus and the gift that we have. That's what I'm saying. And if people get turned off by saying that, then that's their problem. But in a roundabout way, all things point to God. Everything points to God. And I've got a new song where I reference violence and anger is a flame, but love is a fire, to show that there's a difference. And I'm a believer love conquers all. And I believe in the eternal. And we've touched on this last time. I am not afraid of the darkness. These little, I don't know what you want to call them, going astrays. Because out of love, I can't get on the bandwagon where I'm not damning anybody. That's not my job.
Well, the older you
So,
get, you start stripping things down. You start stripping down to the basic elements. At first, when you're first sent out into the world at 18 years old, when you get out of high school and maybe go off to college, okay, maybe you got a couple extra years, a little buffer years, but by the time you're in your mid 20s, you're sent off into the world and you think, oh, I got to get it, got to get all, especially when you're growing up in the 80s. I got to get stuff, bigger, better, got to have it. And it's that Wall Street mentality. But then as you get older, you start stripping away what is the most important things. What do you hold? Your family, your God, whoever you might hold that to be, a higher power. You're facing your mortality. You're thinking, well, how am I going to live forever? Well, you're going to live forever through your music, through the contribution to society that you have through She Loves to Shop, Greg. You've contributed, and you're going to live forever in that respect.
Interesting point, though, is science to be understood as the new religion, and what science has proven or has not proved, or what it can really claim as, something credible. One of the topics that I find interesting is that consciousness, science can't define, can't explain, and gravity is another big one. Where, and the Big Bang Theory is my favorite propagandoed, unproven theory, spoon fed to children and everybody that it's fact and it's not.
Yeah. What was around before 14 billion years ago? What was around before that? Before the Big Bang?
Well, there's a lot of takes, I'm a believer that we don't know.
We don't.
I believe in the mystery. I believe, as the Bible is that I've read in passages, is that it's a mystery and it's to remain a mystery until it's not a mystery.
Growing up Catholic, I'm with you. My priest.
That's the faith part, though. I accept the mystery, but I'm thrilled to be a part of it. But I believe it's going somewhere with intention, and there's a purpose and an outcome. And just like there's the beginning and there's the end, and and the more you study these things, and if you have time, most people don't have the time, or they do waste what time they have to really think about like what potentials there are as far as dimensions. If you ask yourself the questions, what does it mean to have fourth dimension? What's a fifth? What does this all mean? I mean, it sounds like a bunch of whatever, right? Science fiction. What is it? Is it important? Not really. Could it be something to think about? Yeah, but is it what matters? No, it doesn't matter that you understand that there's potentially other dimensions, because no matter however you try to keep digging in to figure everything out, it's still a mystery because science can't explain what it doesn't know. And here's the thing, from my simple point of view in the cornfield, my simple point of view is all we can understand is the reality that we sent by nature to the 3D experience. And science tries to explain everything organic, everything in this 3D. So when you hear talk of it's a hologram, it's a simulation, you can throw that in the trash. That goes in the crapper. That's bunk. That's another one of those, so what? It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter. That's ridiculous. Well, how does that? It doesn't even fit into the equation anyway. It's certainly not the sum of everything, right? So don't even waste your time following that rabbit hole. So then you go back to the idea of the origin is if it's from nothing, then you can't understand and describe and explain the nothing with something. See what I'm saying? So science is trying to explain what it can't explain. And the more you try to understand it, the more you find out that these so-called theories, the Big Bang, for example, and these different scientifically accepted truths, they're all lies. They're not to be put. You don't put your faith in these things, right? It's not written in stone that man has landed on the moon. You love that one. I know you love that one.
Well, Greg, when I was thinking about you today, I was thinking not only singer songwriter but also philosophizer. You're a great philosopher, and you were hinting on things of my favorite philosopher of history, Socrates, who has said, "Knowing that you know nothing." Yes, science tries to explain a lot of things, but the right. Main thing they have to know is that they don't know what they don't know, and they can't explain everything. So a lot of times,
you think you know something, yeah. Once you think you know something, and once you proclaim yourself the master of the subject or whatever, then you've built a wall where you can't learn anymore. You can't go any further. You've put yourself on an island, and that's no fun. Unless you're on it maybe with Brooke Shields, but that's stupid.
Not too stupid. I'd be all right with that. No, there are worse things, but what's all right. But yeah, you're touching on things that are they're questions. It's wondering why we're here.
Right. It's a way to live, though. You don't live in fear and anxiety. I read these quotes, though, these things of wisdom sometimes, that these little gems that pop up, and I agree with them. I like them. Let's see, what was, to get yourself, you can't live in the past. You can't live in the future, right? Living in the past is fear. When you're in fear, you're living in the past, okay? And then when you're living in the future, you're living with anxiety. You're living with what hasn't happened yet, right? The anxiety is the future. Fear is the past because you relate something that may have happened in the past as painful, and you fear that happening again. Well, when you live in the present, right, and you trust in God, that God is guiding your steps, and God is creating all the time. I tell this to my kids. I'm going to tell you. God hasn't created the earth and just left and said, "Yep, I'm done. Here you go, Satan. It's all yours. Have a ball." No, that's not how it works. God is creating now as we speak. And so the reality, meaning what we sense and what we see, is as God has created for us and continuing to create it. And so when you put your heart and your faith and your love for God as the first thing in your life, then God is happy with you. You're obedient. You try to live righteously. You follow the simple ways of being truthful and honest, and you don't shit on people, and you don't screw people over, and you follow the golden rule of doing unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Some people have to learn this out of books. Some people just know it, and some people resist it, and some people fight it. And that's where we get into that area of the lawlessness, the rebellious, and the way of the world, now is shifted in a major way to lawlessness and rebellion. We see division coming down through evil men and their governments. And we see the influence of evil being propagated into everyday life. And as an individual, we have a choice. We condone it. Mm-hmm. We know it's there. And this is what's happening right now. And this is what I consider, it's a complacency, common complacency, which is people just remain like the frog in the pot. They're not going to move. They're not going to do anything. The boiling pot thing, or they just condone it. They're not going to act on it. They're going to overlook it. They're going to disobey God when it's wrong by condoning it. And then they think they can get off the hook by saying, hey, wasn't me doing it. But you didn't say anything about it. You didn't try to stop it. You didn't complain. You didn't start a conversation. Okay? You remained passive. And I'm telling you what, we all know that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And if there's nothing worse than a passive intention, right? So let's go the other way. You've got the truth in you. You're a seeker. You're a truth seeker. And you don't like it. You're not going to condone it. You have to condemn it because you cannot live a lie. You were created to live a lie because if you have the truth, then you're created to live the truth. And so when when we have bad behavior, and we see a lot of it, you cannot condone, you must condemn. And I'm not saying you start a cult or you go out and you start a army of, militants that are going to crush the bad guys. That's not what we're talking about. What we're saying is you communicate with your Creator through prayer. That's your personal pathway. That's the personal way to express your feelings, right? Through prayer. And what you're doing is you're letting your Creator know that you're unhappy and you feel it and you don't like it. And you can ask, what can I do? Well, one thing that you can do is like I'm doing, you talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't condone it. You condemn it. It's wrong. We know it's wrong. It's wrong for me. I'm not going to do these things that I know are destroying and hurting and causing grief because that's not who I am. That's not the way we should be. We should try to live harmoniously. We should try to obey. See, I used to do a lot of drinking back in the day. When I played in the bands, I was one of the biggest whorehounds, alcoholics there was. Out all night. I mean, to the extreme as a younger man. But I knew I was wrong. And I know that I was able to continue in that lifestyle until I couldn't do it anymore. And when I finally quit playing live in the band, I said, I can't do this no more because it's just wrong. We played a job one night and got the bar. It was like 3:00 in the morning. And the guy's leaving, and he was so drunk. He was toasted. He came up and talked to me. His eyes were so red. And he's like, oh, man, you guys are great. You guys are the best thing, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him, and I'm like, oh, man, I didn't say this to him. I'm thinking, I hope you get home okay.
Yeah.
I mean, because, that you got to be fried, And so my conscience or the spirit started working in me that what I was doing was I was being a bad influence. I was getting paid to party. I used to brag about it on the stage. I said, let's have a drink. I'm getting paid to party, and let's have a good time, right? Well, I realized eventually the Lord got through to me and started turning me around where this was no way to live. And what I was doing was I was going to be held accountable one day, just like Madonna, Michael Jackson, what's her name, and all the other people that are living for the moments in their own glory, all going to be held accountable.
Well, that's what you did was you went
want to be in the hot seat.
Well, you went through, trials and tribulations. You lived hard, but then you learned better. Some of the people that have gone through what you've gone through become the most God-fearing men because they know that that's not a way to live. That's called wisdom, as Solomon had it when Saul became Paul.
Well, I'm thankful for it. Don't get me wrong. I put myself in harm's way many times with the car accidents, the drunk driving, getting into fights in San Francisco in the alleyway with. So I've been into bad situations, and I look at it like a miracle that I survived it. And I know that the Lord has been with me and continued to stay with me. Conversation. And so, however, whatever it goes next, I don't know. I don't care really. I mean, like I said, as far as this is the first podcast I've done since we talked 14 months ago. I mean, if I started having to do them every other day, then I'd be going, you know, okay, but no, I'm not going to pass up the opportunity because the music's free. I do it because it's what I do. And I've always been doing this. I've always had this calling and been given the talents. And I'm hopefully thinking that I'm still on the right path of doing as I'm supposed to be doing. And I appreciate people like KeysDAN so much that actually get it. You get it. You didn't just pass over it. And I mean, and just like think you understood because you really kind of understood that, the songs that I'm putting together aren't meant to like rattle the foundations of the world or nothing, but enough to nudge somebody into like, wait a minute, what was that? Or to try to, do something. And that's where, to everybody that experiences it, each and to their own,
Well, they're not meant to rattle anybody, but they might. They just might do that. You've gained wisdom in all your years, and you've gained talent in all your years. You started playing in 1974, for crying out loud. You're not a spring chicken. You're not new to this. And coming into a studio, your studio, with a half of an idea is almost like somebody else coming in with a full idea. Right. But go ahead.
Well, that's a beautiful point because I am blessed with the years in the sense that I can remember mowing my great aunt. I remember my dad said, "Hey, you got to mow this yard." It was out in the country. We lived in a small town, and it was my aunt Agatha. We called her Aunt Gacy, and she was like in her mid to late 80s, and she was a widow out in the farm, and everything started to kind of fall down. Because she lived alone. There wasn't, nobody there to keep up on everything. So you start getting a gutter, starts to hang down, and a shutter might be crooked, and the weather's working on the place. So my dad said, "You're going to go out and mow her yard, and she's going to pay you." And I was like, "Well, all right then." And I was probably all of 8 years old, and the mower was hard to start. I used to have to sit on the ground, put my feet up against the mower, and pull it like that, sitting on the ground.
Danger.
To get the mower to start. And every once in a while, because her grass got so tall, I'd kill the mower and I couldn't get started, so I couldn't get my dad. He'd be in there shooting a breeze with her while I was out here mowing. Yeah, good old dad. And so anyway,
that's good training for an 8-year-old. You know what my dad got me for my 8th birthday? A job.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, when I relate this story to my children or to anybody anymore, I'm telling them though, that was a woman who was raised without running water, without electricity. She was born, I think, 1896, 1897. And so in the 70s, or no, if I was 8, 9, 10 years old, yeah. So it puts me there where I saw and knew people, and I experienced that century, people that were born at the turn of the 20th century. And I think of my grandparents who born 1905, 1910, all that. And they lived through the challenges of World War II. And nobody talks about World War I, but they lived through those days. And fortunately, my grandfather was born at a time where he missed eligibility, and my dad missed it because of the way he was, when his timing was, he wasn't sucked up into the draft. But no, it doesn't make me smarter. It's just like, I just saw these people and I was curious about how they live, what they do. I mean, what the heck, when I was at her house, I seen the little washboard and stuff in the corner. And like, what's this, And that's how he used to do clothes, he used to have this thing and you're kidding me, and all that stuff, and I don't know. I was just a very aware type. Well, still I am. I try to be, but a child. I was very aware of what's around, and I always wanted to know how things work. I wanted to know how everything works, And I'm still that way. I wanted to know how the monetary system works. We talked about this. So I got into the conversation of studying the Federal Reserve, how it was created, what it is and what it isn't. And I wanted to get to the bottom of what money, how this works. And then I learned about my vocabulary got bigger. I learned what the word fiat means. It's not just a brand of a car that used to, people used to drive a Fiat now. So I had to learn these things, fraudulent um, way business is done
Well,
and the way things are.
you talked about Hamilton last time, where he was starting.
Yeah. Well, it makes me angry because it's like, when you're young, you want to buy your first house. I can remember when I went to buy my first house, they're talking about, well, you got to have escrow, and I'm like, what the hell's escrow? So it's like you're trying to trick me with. You got to have a lawyer to buy a house. What is all this stuff? Yeah, you understand it, but I don't understand it. And you want me to sign all these papers? Now I'm reading none of them, and I don't understand none of them. You buy a house, you got to sign 40 different pages. And so anyway, I'm just saying, same thing with buying car insurance, and oh yeah, you want $300,000 coverage here, yeah. You make minimum wage, but yeah, we recommend you take $1 million policy, yeah, because well, you never know until the fear factor. Let's scare the hell out of you to give it as much money as you can.
Well,
And
that's
so,
what it is, the almighty dollar. Everybody knows that you're going to pay the insurance companies a premium every month. You're going to be paying them a certain amount of money, but when it does happen, the emergency comes, they're going to do their best not to pay you. I said it.
Could be.
I said it.
That could be. But the point is, it's just another one of these things that you find is wrong, and what do you do about it?
What's
do you
better?
condone it, or do you condemn it? I guess if you really felt strongly about it, you could go around and be preaching how to properly buy auto insurance, what to avoid, what coverages are right for you. If you felt strongly enough about that particular wrong. So in my case, though, I look at my wrongs. My duty is more like, I guess you'd say, in the biblical sense of life or death. So that's how seriously I take the idea of condoning or condemning, because we're talking about life and death.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking. And I know there's a lot of people who have miserable lives. I've had some really miserable times too. I know all too well about near homelessness, and definitely, as I touched on before, um, binge drinking alcoholism that put me in quite a few different jail cells and situations that weren't good because I didn't care. See, I had this attitude. The way my life changed, things happened out of high school. I didn't give a crap if I lived or died, and I lived reckless. I didn't care. And I pushed God I tested God like, hey, if you want me to live, then you're going to have to get my ass out of this particular mess. Because I just drank myself into one hell of a situation. And I was redeemed time and time again. To finally one day, I'm like, you know what? I got to quit doing this. I believe that God has a job for me, a mission, and a life for me, and I'm not. I told God, I'm not monkeying with you no more. I believe. I give up. I mean, I surrendered a long time ago, my own will, but not completely. I still had to say, hey, why are you keeping me around? What's the point? This world sucks. I don't like what I see. I don't like what I'm going to see. I don't like any of it. But then I still thought, well, there's a lot of beauty here. I still appreciate the sunrises and the children, and what I'm saying. There's this, it's the people. It's not the planet. It's not the environment necessarily. It's mankind destroying his nest. It's the destruction of the mind, the takeover of one's own essence. People are losing control of their own being because people don't want to think. People want to become machines. And that's another topic too that gets me going too. This whole AI buy-in of the singularity. I mean, oh my goodness, there's so many great things that you could try to wrap your minds around. But take the AI singularity theory, right?
Mhm.
You're up to speed on that with me, right, Dan?
I bow to my AI overlords. They'll be taking over soon.
Reach the point that they can basically procreate. Is that the right word? They can create. They can keep.
Create
They rebuild
themselves.
themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just hilarious. That just anybody who grasps the spiritual reality, like I'm trying to talk about here, the spiritual reality was beyond the realm, the limitations of what we can fathom with our senses. Anybody who's experiencing that and believes in that and holds on to that light knows how comical. My muses are very amused with this talk and these actions of these foolish people. But at the same time, as much as they're amused, they also are very, very concerned and troubled and saddened by the sorry state of affairs. And so, really, Dan, I don't know how much we can go on about that, but we're witnesses. Everybody's a witness to their life,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a testament. You have a testimony of your life, the things that have happened to you. This is what you're going to be held accountable for. You know, um, and so you have that choice to condone or condemn. Is your testimonial going to be, I condoned and I ignored the whole freaking kit and caboodle and didn't lift a finger? Or are you going to be able to testify that you condemned it and you knew it was wrong?
You're just
And you may have known it.
you're just talking about wisdom, man. You've gained wisdom and knowledge through conversations,
Yeah,
through exchanging ideas.
I've always known
Consuming.
this, man.
Yeah, no,
I've always known it. I was born at Wright Patterson, okay?
I don't know what that means.
Woo, woo, woo. What?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, you do. We talked about it. I was born at the Wright Patterson Air Force Base.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. And that's where those weird alien things happen. I'm teasing you here.
You're very
But in the
wooey
realm of
wooey now. Okay. But no, the greatest thing that their kids can do in school and in colleges is exchange ideas. Unless you're going to be a scientist or somebody or a doctor or lawyer that needs to really read the books, the best thing you could do is exchange ideas. And I'm so appreciative to have you on the other side of this conversation, filling my mind, man. Just blowing my mind.
Good thing, right? Well, you should. It's like an obligation to learn. You owe it to yourself to learn whatever you can. Because think of it like this. I don't believe this, but the general consensus is you only live once.
No, you live every day.
So that gives a lot of that justifies a lot of bad behavior because I'm only going to live once, right?
Nope, but I'm living every day.
But on the other side of the thing, you came into this world with nothing, you're going to leave with nothing, they say, right?
That's true.
Well, why do you want to go through life being a dumbass?
No,
right?
Have a thirst for knowledge.
I mean, does anybody get up in the morning and say, hey, I can't wait to be a dumbass?
every once in a while, you take a day off. I hope you do take a day off. But I could see you cracking your camera open every once in a while. You say you haven't done this in 14 months, but you got a lot to say. Not just a lot to sing, but you got a lot to say as well.
I mean, I don't know. I just take it. It's just a fun living. Being alive is the most awesome, fun thing, and I could not fathom the alternative. And we talked about it. I'm saying life or death. I just cannot. The alternative to life don't work for me, and I don't know anybody could think it would, because it doesn't. And if you don't care about your mortal soul, then that's on you, right? But there's still those of us around here who do believe in it, and we're going to talk about it, and that's just the way it is. And people like to get hung up on this spiritual war and the great conflict and how it's all coming to it's all coming to this inflection point where it's going to happen, and things are going to change quick, and things are going to change like it's prophesied. It's going to be like a hammer. God's wrath is going to be poured out, and the smack and all that. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be something else to witness. It's going to be like crazy, but it's going to be real, and it's meant to. Can't stop it, Um,
Well, humans are living longer than ever before. Do you feel that that's science, or is that divine intervention? We're living longer, we're living better.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's it.
Well, there's talk of this, that, and the other. As far as there's constant talk of corporate elitists trying to kill everybody. The talk of they're going to want to reduce the population by 90%. Here, this all goes back to prophecy too. The rumors of wars, this, that, and the other. Don't get anxietized. Don't get yourself worked up in a frenzy. Because if you're condemning it, okay, good for you. That's the right thing to be doing. If it brings on fear, let it be the fear of God, the fear of the fact that you're not in control. I'm not in control. No one is in control. And that's where people can't accept God, because they can't give up. They have an arrogant sense of conceit that where they have to be in control. And when you give up your control to a spiritual guide, to the spiritual reality, then it becomes liberating, and it's easy to take a breath, because all your guilt and all your worries and all your everything is baggage is off of you. But then this kind of goes into this other topic too, where there are some who don't have that sense of guiltness. I mean, there are some evil beings,
sociopaths,
circulating amongst us right now, that there is very little hope for.
Yeah, but you just brought up that there's people that are thinking about reducing the population. There was a Marvel movie that came out a few years ago that explored exactly that concept, where Thanos snapped and half the people disappeared.
Right.
So if you don't think that there's somebody thinking about it, there's somebody thinking about it real hard. They made $1 billion thinking about it.
We can make a whole list of these improbable probables. We could go right down the list and say the Simpsons cartoon show predicted this, and this. Look what happened. All these things. How's that happen? How's that possible? And there's a lot of talk about how the other side operates. And what I'm talking about now is basically the dark side, the spirits of the dark.
Well, life imitating art, and art imitating life. Star Trek had the communicator that becomes our cell phone, that becomes an iPad.
Those kind of things to be a problem. What's a problem, though, is when people worship. There's so much idol worship in this world. There's so much narcissistic behavior. I mean, selfies all the time. Can't walk. I mean, you can't think of anything but what you're wearing, how you look. I mean, I tease my kids, as they get older, you'll realize you get out of high school, nobody cares. You're self-conscious in school. You get up there and you can't give a speech, you freeze up. I remember, stage fright and all that kind of thing.
Oh, that was the worst thing in the world.
It was like you're going to die.
Life's over.
But nobody cares. Nobody cares. And we had a program at the school where they're giving out awards. I think it was probably something like for my daughter's cross-country team. They were giving out awards. And so they had the vice principal up on the stage in the auditorium, call the girls up one by one and give them their awards or whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. And this one friend of my sister, I love her to death, or not my sister, my daughter, the one friend of my daughter, she came up there and she just waved, and she put on a real show. Instead of, some of them get up there real nervous and they they thank you, and then they walk off, right? This girl got up there and put on like a little stand-up routine of just with their body language and waving at people and having a good time. And I tried telling my daughter, now that's great. That's the way you should live your life. Don't go around worrying about thinking people are judging you and whatever, because you're just beating up yourself. That's putting something on you that you've got to learn to overcome, right? You learn to resist and those kind of emotions. And so anyway, that was really nice to see her get up there and basically say, I don't care. I'm just here to have fun. I'm here to enjoy my journey.
Well, I feel your pride, Daddy. And that gave her a little wisdom. If anything, this conversation, my younger listener, hopefully you've gleaned something. Life doesn't, some of the things in that you think are important in life, they don't matter all that much. Hold your family, your God, your higher power, whoever that might be. You might pray to Zeus still or Gaia, but that's still God. It's still a higher power, a being that's greater than you. And the hope that we have, your faith. Hold on. Go ahead.
Spiritual reality. Idol worship is about, the golden calf. That's not life. You don't follow the non-living. You have to follow the living. And we're talking, like I said, it's the spiritual reality of this thing. And that's another topic. Well, the same topic, but it could be expanded upon. But not to try to get into too much more preachy thing. I'm just saying, I believe, and so what I produce, it comes out of this room here.
Mm-hmm.
What I can do in here. I cannot take the credit for it. We talked about. I don't look at myself as a conduit. I don't feel like a piece of pipe. No, because I'm alive and I'm living and I feel good about it. And I feel empowered. Okay. And it's not empowered because I got 12 guitars over here. I'm not empowered because I bought a new microphone. I'm not empowered because somebody said I'm cool. I'm not empowered because of any of those reasons, right? I mean, I still get up in the morning, sometimes feel like crap. I still, I don't want to do this, do that. I still complain and, struggle through having a physical body like everybody else would, right? But I've got the spiritual reality where I'm given the inspiration, I'm given the motivation, I'm given this gift of this thing called life that I can't contain. I can't keep it in. I get fired up about it, and I've calmed down a lot. I used to get so passionate talking about music and talk shop and all this, but no, I mean, I get fired up, because I get excited about the whole thing. And this whole thing of, this path to hell that it's wide and a lot of people are on it. I mean, I'm not excited about that. That caused me a lot of pain. But I am excited about the fact that it's going to get over. I'm excited about the fact the hammer's coming down. I don't necessarily want to see it, but I do want to see it. Because it's going to be like, hey, if you see the end, like if you're on a projectile right now in this dimension to see this interaction of this whole smear come to an end, if you happen to be one in the end, you don't realize what an opportunity that is. Like one in gazillion billion people that are going to experience this thing. And I've known this since I was a kid. I've always had this expectation and this waiting, World War III, and it's always been knowledge to me.
Greg, you are 20 minutes away from wearing a sandwich board that's saying the end is near. I hope the end is not near. I know that the end will come for us all individually. I'm not going to be here forever. You're not going to be here forever, but it's what we do while we are here that counts, man. And right. You're interacting with people. It's nice to connect with people. It's nice to be told that you're doing a good job. I think you're doing a good job.
I'm talking about credibility. I'm talking about some credibility. I've earned some credibility. And this is one of the things that this music does for me. because I'm not going to say I'm Greg the Great. That's right. Damn it.
I'll
That's
say
my
it.
music. That's all mine. That's all mine. I did it all by myself. I did everything. I created it. No, that's not true. I didn't. I'm not a piece of pipe. I'm not a conduit. I am the one who gets to share it. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying?
You get all
I'm
the
not.
accolades and you get all the rewards, you get all the criticism, and then
Right. I take it all. It doesn't matter. I don't
you get
care.
it
See,
all.
I'm having fun either way.
Mhm.
And so, criticism or not, that's fine. And it took a while for me. God had to bring me to the point to get the courage to throw it out there like that, because for a long time I'd say, why am I ashamed of it? I'm not ashamed of it. Then why can't you just be more, get louder? And I'm like, okay, I want to get louder. It may it's because I am getting older, right? But I'm also achieving the testimony that I have, the accomplishments, is growing, right? And when you're in love, Dan, you can't keep it to yourself. You just can't. It's impossible. The world loves a lover. They just don't know it.
Well, I think I hear
And
my
so,
love in the other room calling me out, and I appreciate so much what you've said today, man. I hope somebody gleans some knowledge. My loyal listener gets some knowledge and heads over to She Loves 2, number 2 shop.com and finds out more. I want you to take this philosophy. You are a philosopher. Whether you think that a muse is coming through you, you're not a conduit, or you have so much knowledge in your head. Have Becky turn a camera on you, light you up properly, and put you out there on the Instagrams or the TikToks or the whatever. I know Twitter's kind of dead. Elon Musk has killed it.
oh boy. Anyway, so I got a lot of new songs I've been working on.
Yeah, you do. I know. We're getting back on track. Off the others and back on to the music, man.
How long have we been talking?
Oh,
How long is this?
it's over an hour. I think we need to cut it pretty soon. Let's land this plane, and we'll do part 3 coming up in the next few months or whatever as time progresses. Because I know you're not going to stop stopping. No way. You're going to keep going and putting that music out there.
Between me and you, the songs that I've been given, the stuff that's been coming out, that I just wrote a new song called "Pull My Finger," and it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing. And I don't know if you've seen the picture artwork for the cover of it yet.
I haven't. And that's another phrase there. Another phrase that you've taken and made into a fully fledged out song.
Maybe your uncle or your grandpa pulled the "pull my finger" joke on you.
Guilty.
Yes. Maybe sometimes it's like this, sometimes it's like that. So yeah. So there again, starting out with no general idea or direction, the "Pull My Finger" song turned into basically a anti-establishment statement.
Yeah.
Because the first lyrical lines are, "I don't like caviar. I don't like caviar. Caviar gives me gas." Okay? And in our punk rock, Nirvana type mind, we can repeat a lot of lyrics that have to be complicated. So that "I don't like caviar" is used quite a few times. It gives me gas. And then when it goes to the chorus or the break, the different part, it goes into, "I don't like green weenies. I don't like green weenies. I don't like green weenies." Okay?
Basically, you wrote a song about your dietary requirements. When you go to a restaurant, these are the things you do not want.
Yeah, but people who are in the know a little bit more will think, wait a minute, what he's saying is we don't need that way of thinking. thinking. We don't need caviar. We don't need the green weenie. We don't need, what I'm saying there. Don't need to bend over for the green weenie, right? So what that song basically,
yeah, on the surface, it's what you've learned in wisdom. Look, I don't like spaghetti, but I'm okay with angel hair pasta, so I know what I do like. And the same thing with your elected officials, the people that you interact with on a daily basis, your boss.
I don't need their lifestyle. I don't like their lifestyle. I don't like their way of doing business. Okay, because I don't like the green weenie. I don't like getting screwed over. I don't like, being lied to, taken advantage of. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in, that kind of thing. And so that's the whole statement, basically. And then it goes into the musical breakdown, which is pretty cool because it's heavy and it's trippy, and it's like, it sounds intense, right? It's pretty intense song, actually.
Yeah.
And then it goes back into like a refrain of the repeats, but it does it in a way where, like, good music that we like, builds and, has an emotional up and downs, and then it gets in and it gets that, and then, so really it's just something simple that had a spin put on it a little bit.
Oh yeah, I've watched many movies. You watch a movie. Oh, this is a movie about dinosaurs, and then you come out of that movie and you go, that wasn't about dinosaurs at all. Yeah, there were dinosaurs in it, but there was an overlying political agenda that the director had, that the writer had, that somebody had.
So some people that are politically correct, or that's not the right way to say it, but some people that are in the know, that have heard or that are clued in to what I'm trying to do with people, and that's to get them to turn their lives around and live not in fear or anxiety, but live in a life of love and kindness, and stick togetherness, and build their families, community units for the future. So people that are on board with that, and get in on board with that early on, they're going to see that all these tunes and stuff are not just randomly picked out of this, picked out of that. There's something relating to something that's for them. I don't know what it is sometimes. I don't necessarily know who that song was for, or who exactly, or, I mean, I'm not going to write a song with somebody's name in it just out of randomness. Maybe I already have, but really, that's not really how it works. Actually, I think I did do a song called Claudia.
Yeah. Well, you need to do one called Becky, because that girl's already helping you out. She helps you.
Who is Becky? I don't know who Becky is.
I don't know who Becky is. I don't know who was it that helped you in the beginning. Get the camera straight.
Not my mom.
No,
probably.
Who's out there?
That was Patty.
Patty, that's what I meant to say. Who's Becky? I don't know. You need to write a Patty song. That's what I meant. Sorry. Patty's the one that should be getting all the credit. Every time you heard me say Becky, it was Patty. I'm reduxing. Was it retconning? It's what they do in comic books. I'm retconning all the times I said Becky. It's Patty. Patty's the good one.
That's fine. Hey, what would really help is when we do this, if we had a really latency-free connection where we don't have this delay. And
oh, that's all right, man. The only way to do that is if we're in the same room, and I hope that happens one day. I need to get back to Indiana. I know we talked about I was a little baby when I was living in Indiana for a little while, and I need to get back there, and my cousins are still there.
Great impression on, I enjoyed our conversation and still do. And anyway, talk about the weather. It's supposed to be cold as all get out. We're supposed to have a high of 4 degrees.
Well, that's where we need to land this plane, man. We need to get out of here and get back to our families and get back to life. I think people have gotten a little idea of what's happening in the world of Greg WIGZ. She loves to shop, number 2. Remember that number 2 whenever you're Googling it. But, let's finish this thing off, man. Let's do some last words for the people.
I want to talk about the pioneers again sometime.
Let's do it, man.
The old way of life. Not because I just think that skills that our grandparents had, those lost skills. I mean, back to this idea of, hey, this fragility of, hey, if the lights go out, man, we're all screwed. And the longer they're out, the worse it's going to get. And it seems like I'm talking like that, not as far fetched as it used to be. Every day that, whether it's me or somebody else talks about where were you when the lights went out, that reality, you got more and more people starting not to scoff at and brush it off as like, that's nonsense, that'll never happen. That the tide is shifting on the people that are starting to be a little more concerned about relying on the government for life and everything like that.
Well, you met a pioneer.
No,
You met Aunt Gacy, who was born back in the 90s, the 1890s. So she was only one generation, one person removed from people born in the 1700s. I mean, if people live 100 years,
exactly.
We're only like 3 people old. This whole country is only about 3 people old.
Some people don't want to hear about it. Some people don't want to think about it. But I find it just interesting. Exactly, I find it interesting on. I don't know if I kind of have a lot of respect to think how hardy those people had to be, how different their way of living had to be, what food, simple remedies, like through some of the modern stuff. But then again, there's way too much modern stuff too. But you think about children that died because they didn't have access to something simple like penicillin or whatever.
Well, know how hard they lived. You could see it in the early photos. 12-year-olds looked like they were 50 back in the 1800s.
But that's the thing too. This another thing that gets me going too is you think about people that had to work a lot to survive. I mean, you wouldn't have the freedom, the luxury to sit around your ass and watch TV, because if you wanted to stay warm, you had to go out and find some wood to bring in. You either had to chop it, saw it, stack it. You had to be smart enough to cover it up, keep it dry. And I mean, the list goes on and on about the responsibilities that people had to each other. I mean, if you were the head of the household, if you were parents, the husband, the father, the husband, the mother, you had a lot of responsibilities to care for the well-being of your family. And all that's been lost, and that the whole virtue thing, and everything, it goes back. I think that's why I find it interesting, because I think a lot of times I want to know when and where it went, where it skewed off, where do I learn through history? I pretty much got it figured out, but there weren't people that all bought into it. I mean, those people that lived in the Appalachians, they were stuck there in the Appalachians without electricity way longer than anybody else. I mean, they couldn't even get radio until everybody else already had it. And so those people, they kind of almost were like on Easter Island or something. They had the old timey ways still in existence. And the people that come out of those mountains, and went into World War II and whatever, they came back different. Modernization caught up and changed, and before you know it, every last remote outpost of what was previous, it got done away with. Modernization and everything took over everywhere.
Well, I don't want to live Amish, though. I mean, they went technology up to a certain point. They'll use a hammer, but not.
Yeah, we're in a precarious situation where we don't want to go. We like what we got. We like this lap of luxury.
I do.
I mean, shit. Who doesn't like hot water?
I do.
Who doesn't like a warm bed?
Yes.
Right. But the thing, Dan, if nothing else, I think it's a good exercise psychologically to think these things through. And if people would be just willing to contemplate the possibility of this change, then it does a couple things for you. It enriches your appreciation. It can grow your ability to be thankful. I mean, you're going to appreciate what you have a lot more when you realize how quickly it could not be there. But yeah, who wants to go back to the Stone Age, or who wants to go back without running water or electricity? And that's the real problem that's going to happen when the collapse comes, because everybody's going to scramble to try to somehow maintain the lifestyle that they're used to. I mean, people with a generator, they know that they've only got 500 gallons, let's say. And they know that running at 24/7, they've only got 20 days, right? Well, you call it wisdom. I call it, just thinking for yourself. You might know that you're going to have to ration it. You're not going to run 24/7, and because you don't know how long this thing's going to last. And so, as a responsible leader of the household or whatever, you'll say, "Look, we're going to have to go on 3 hours a day. We'll pump all our water. Everybody can make the best of it, but that damn thing's only going to be on for 3 hours a day. So
See,
whatever you need to do in 3 hours, you best be doing it, right?"
these are
And
ideas that
so,
have been contemplated already. I've seen Mad Max. I've seen Waterworld. I've seen a dystopian future where things are rare or resources are small, short.
the reluctance to change the lifestyle, though, the reluctance to grasp the reality and say something's really wrong here, and how come I didn't know about this? I was blindsided, and then to think that you don't have to change. See, the people that are going to die first are going to be the ones unwilling to change, and that's
Overcome,
common sense.
adapt. Yeah, humans can live in very extreme temperatures, weathers, climates. There's people living in Antarctica, and there's people living on the equator as well.
But they refuse to adapt. Sometimes I guess you're forced to adapt. But have you ever read Mutiny of the Bounty?
Yes, and the movie's great too. But
Right. And what was that guy's name? Captain Bligh, who they took him, put him on the little rowboat with his loyal followers, and took off and left them stranded and to die, basically, right?
that's what
But
the
as
pirates used to do.
But Captain Bligh was supposedly a real hard ass, a very strict disciplinarian, and hardcore, ran a tight ship and all that. But under his command, that rowboat, with what little food they could catch, and if you remember how the story went, like a bird landed on the bow of the boat, and they clobbered it and one guy everybody got like this. There's like 10 or 12 of them.
Portions.
They all got like a portion of this bird.
Yeah.
And they went for days, and then they had to capture water to drink and all that. But anyway, through his discipline and the strictness of everybody adhering to his commands, they were able to somehow get that ship navigated and picked up, and they returned to England, and then I think it was, who was his second command, Christian, Lieutenant, whatever he was, or somebody. They ended up, I don't know, but they had to go to the magistrate, and he had to face, mutiny charges and all that good shit.
And now you've come full circle. You're talking about a monarch, where Captain Bligh was, in essence, a monarch. Monarchy versus democracy versus republic. These are subjects for another day, man. These are subjects for another day. We got lots to talk about in an upcoming episode. I always enjoy following you around, man. But I got to land this plane, man. The viewer doesn't, with the short attention spans. I try to keep these things no more than an hour or so. But man, I know we could talk. You got things to say and things to sing, and I want people to follow you around on your various social medias. Hey, give one last word for the people, and we'll get up out of here.
Oh boy, the last word. Well, the album "Holy Shit." Oh, I can't say that. Holy beep. Well, I don't know why I can't say it. I mean, do you ever watch any of these congressional hearings? You watched what's going on with Hunter Biden's subpoena situation, where he's in contempt of Congress and all that good stuff? Well, I expect a brawl to break out anytime, and almost rightfully so. The way, we talked about, yeah, it starts with a D, but anyway, I don't know what to think about that bunch. Well, I do know what to think. It's a shame. It's terrible. Anywho, the last word is take care of yourself, Dan. Eat right. Get some sleep if you can. Next time you think about exercising, maybe you will. Maybe you won't. I don't know. I usually don't. I don't like to exercise. Makes me sweat. And when I sweat, it might feel good, but it's like getting there I don't like. You know what I mean? So work hard, play harder, keep a stiff upper lip, chin up. Yeah. I don't know. I got nothing.
Well, there you have it, party people. I knew it was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be that good. I know Greg WIGZ, singer, songwriter, philosopher. I think that would be his main thing. That's your main gig, Greg WIGZ. You're a philosopher. If you could monetize that, you probably wouldn't have to work. Other than that, I think that you got a lot of knowledge. You got a lot of knowledge to drop. You want people to live together in harmony and, just love each other. I think that's what most people want. We talked about those psychopaths briefly that don't want that. Do unto others as you would love them to do to you. Yes, the golden rule, of course. That's how most people want to live. Unless you're a psychopath, unless you're a sadist, a masochist, and you want to, you want other people to be sadistically masochized. I guess if that's even a phrase, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about. I'm glad that you have your faith. I'm glad that you have your family, and I'm glad that you have the happiness and the ability to put the thoughts that you have into music form and put them out to the world and share your ideas. That's all we can do is share ideas, share knowledge, share thoughts, and exchange ideas. We're going to find out that we're probably trying to achieve the same goals for the most part. It's just that we try to go at them in different directions. Some people throw a lot of money at it, and some people throw a lot of sweat equity, work hard, and the money will come. Or people want to sit on their butts and just have money fall on them. I don't think so. I don't think that's the way to go. I've been working since I was a little kid, and I've very rarely had to take an unemployment check. Very few times when I've had to rely on somebody else. Mostly, I'm self-sufficient, and I have my family to back me up on that. I'm thankful that I have a loving wife and children that are, heading in the right direction, that are becoming members of society in their own right. So, Greg, you've made me think, man. That's philosophy. That's a philosopher. They love each other and do unto others and just keep listening to that good music. All right? Thank you, Greg WIGZ, for being on the podcast. I appreciate it. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. Now, if you, yes, you, my loyal listener, if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email keysdan@aol.com. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.